Zora Washington fixed her shirt collar one last time before walking into the shiny main building of Stellar Dynamics. This company was the biggest maker of space defense equipment in North America. After working 15 years leading deep space missions and getting many awards from the United Earth Space Force, she wanted to try working for a private company. Her record was perfect. She was top of her class at the academy. She made first contact with the Arcturian Council, and she created battle plans that saved many lives during the Proxima conflict. But as she waited in the plain, white waiting room, she felt like she didn't belong. The pictures of company leaders on the wall showed mostly the same kind of people, a pattern that hadn't changed much since before humans went to space. "Ms. Washington, please come this way." A young man in a neat suit led her through many hallways to a meeting room where three bosses waited. Their faces showed no emotion as she came in. "So you're the Space Force captain," said the older man in the middle, who didn't stand up or offer to shake hands. "I'm Alan Patterson, VP of Operations. These are my co-workers, Diane Fuller and Greg Nichols." Zora gave each of them a firm handshake. "Actually, it's Commander Washington. Thank you for meeting with me to talk about how my work experience could help Stellar Dynamics." Patterson raised his eyebrow slightly. "Commander? Well, military titles don't mean much here. We need people who can fit into company culture." For the next 40 minutes, the interview got worse and worse. They questioned if she could lead people, even though she had led many space missions. They suggested her technical knowledge was just theory, not practice, and hinted that working in the military had kept her from facing real-world pressures. "Your missions worked out, yes," Fuller said with a small smile. "But you had all the government's money and support. Here we have to be careful with our budgets." "With respect," Zora answered calmly. "Managing supplies during deep space missions, where no new supplies can come for months, means being very careful with resources. During the Ganymede crisis, my team kept working with 40% less supplies for 8 weeks while—" Yes, Patterson cut her off, looking at his watch. "Look, Ms. Washington, we thank you for your service, but I'm worried about if you'll fit in here. Our teams work fast and talk directly to each other. We don't have room for strict military-style leadership or, how should I say this, people who might get upset at honest feedback." The message was clear, and Zora felt anger rising inside her. She had seen this before. People assuming she only got her job because standards were lowered for her, thinking her leadership style must be harsh rather than team-based, believing her presence would somehow mess up their workplace. As she was about to answer, the door opened. A tall man with gray-streaked hair walked into the meeting room. The three bosses sat up straight right away. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, looking around the room before his eyes landed on Zora. His face changed instantly from mild interest to shocked recognition. "Commander Washington?" he asked, speaking barely above a whisper. Zora nodded politely, though she didn't know who he was. "Yes, sir." To everyone's surprise, the man bowed deeply at the waist, a sign of deep respect rarely seen in American business meetings. "Madam President," he said as he stood up straight. "I didn't know it was you they were interviewing today." Patterson looked confused. "Mr. Caldwell, there must be some mistake. This is Zora Washington, former Space Force." "I know exactly who she is," Caldwell said sharply. He turned to Zora. "They don't know, do they?" Zora looked puzzled. "I'm sorry, Mr. Caldwell, but I don't understand." "Ben Caldwell, CEO of Stellar Dynamics," he introduced himself, offering his hand. "And you still don't recognize me, which is actually a good thing. I was Lieutenant Caldwell at Europa Station during the Proxima conflict. You wouldn't remember me. I was just one of hundreds under your command when our base was surrounded." Zora's face showed she suddenly remembered. "The communications expert who fixed the emergency signal system when our main systems were damaged." Caldwell nodded, smiling widely. "You remember what I did, but not what I look like. That's exactly the kind of leader you were. Focused on the mission, not on getting credit." He turned to the confused bosses. "Do you have any idea who you've been interviewing? Who you've been talking down to for the past hour?" Patterson moved uncomfortably in his chair. "Ben, we were just being thorough." Commander Washington isn't here for the job you're interviewing her for, Caldwell said flatly. She's here because I've been trying to hire her to take my place when I step down next quarter. She's the only person I trust to lead this company into the new age of human-alien relations. The meeting room went completely quiet. Even Zora was shocked. She had applied for a senior project management job, not the CEO position. I don't understand, she finally said. Your hiring person contacted me about the Defense Systems Division. Caldwell sighed deeply. Because you turned down my direct offer 3 times, Commander. I hoped that getting you in the door would give me another chance to convince you. He glared at his bosses. Though I certainly didn't tell them to interview you this way. He pulled up a chair and sat directly across from Zora. What these 3 don't know, what almost no one on Earth knows yet, is what really happened during the final days of the Proxima standoff. Zora's face stayed calm, but her shoulders tensed a little. The public record says you negotiated a peaceful end through normal diplomatic channels, Caldwell continued. What the secret record shows is that you were chosen by the Arcturian Council as the human representative in the Galactic Tribunal. You stood before 17 alien civilizations and defended humanity's right to exist as an independent species. Patterson's mouth fell open. Fuller looked doubtful. Nichols started frantically typing on his tablet. The vote was unanimous, Caldwell said. All 17 civilizations agreed to recognize Earth's independence, not because of our military strength or economic potential, but because you convinced them of our ability to grow and develop ethically. They named you, in their terms, the first president of human destiny. That title was just ceremonial, Zora said quietly. And temporary. Caldwell shook his head. Not to them. The Arcturian delegation that arrived last month asked specifically about the president of human destiny, and were confused when our actual president met with them. They consider you the real representative of our species in galactic matters. He leaned forward. Commander, the next phase of human history is beginning. The technology exchange program starts next year. We need someone who understands both human innovation and alien psychology to lead that integration. Someone the galactic community already respects. Fuller found her voice. You can't be serious, Ben. We need someone with business experience, connections in the industry. We need someone who has stood in front of the combined power of 17 interstellar civilizations without showing fear, Caldwell interrupted. Someone who convinced beings that have been traveling between stars for thousands of years that humans deserve a place at their table. He turned back to Zora. That's why the title of president isn't just ceremonial. Not anymore. 3 days later, Zora stood in her apartment looking out the window at the city as the sun went down. Her phone rang with a call from a number she didn't know. Commander Washington, said a voice she knew when she answered. Mr. Caldwell. Have you thought about my offer? Zora had thought about it a lot. She had read the contract, talked with her old bosses, and even spoken with the head of the United Earth government. The job Caldwell was offering wasn't just to be CEO of a defense company. It was to lead a new group that would be the main link between humans and alien technology. I have questions, she said. I would be surprised if you didn't. Why me? There are people who work in politics with more experience talking to other nations. There are scientists who know more about technical things. But none who have earned the respect of the aliens, Caldwell replied. None who have shown they can understand both human limits and alien views. And to be direct, Commander, none who show the full range of human kinds of people. Zora raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I mean the aliens were surprised and impressed that a species as young as ours had already moved past the tribal divisions they struggled with for thousands of years. You being our representative made them think we value skill over things that don't matter. And yet your own bosses seemed less sure of that, Zora pointed out. Caldwell sighed. Patterson and his group represent old ways of thinking, ways that need to change if we're going to do well in this new time, which is exactly why I need you in this job. Zora was quiet for a long time. The Arcturians are just the start. There are other alien groups watching us, waiting to see how we handle first contact. Yes, Caldwell agreed, and they've already chosen who they want to talk to. Not me specifically, Zora corrected. They chose what I stand for. The chance for humans to be better than our past. Then help us live up to that chance, Caldwell urged. We need to change our whole approach to technology, defense, even how our society works. If we try to talk with aliens while still holding on to old biases and power systems, we'll fail. Zora made her decision. I accept the job, but with one condition. Name it. Patterson and his team stay. Caldwell was quiet for a moment. After how they treated you. Exactly because of how they treated me, Zora said firmly. Change doesn't happen by getting rid of problems. It happens by changing them. I want them to be part of building something new. Either they'll step up or they'll leave on their own. The next morning, Zora walked into Stellar Dynamics as its new executive director of galactic relations. The news of her appointment had spread quickly through the company. She had asked for her office to be on the main floor, not in the executive suite. As she walked through the open workspace, people stopped to watch her pass. Some looked curious, others seemed unsure. A few showed clear respect. When she reached her new office, she found Patterson waiting outside. Commander Washington, he said stiffly. Mr. Patterson, please come in. Inside, Zora took a seat not behind the desk, but at the small meeting table, gesturing for Patterson to join her. I assume you're here to give me your resignation, she said. Patterson looked down at his hands. I thought that would be what you wanted. What I want is people who can help build a bridge between humanity and the rest of the galaxy, Zora replied. People who understand business, who know this company, and who are willing to learn and grow. After how I treated you in that interview, you still think I could be one of those people? Patterson asked, finally meeting her eyes. That depends. Was that behavior because you truly believe I'm less capable because of who I am, or was it because you've been taught to see the world a certain way and you've never questioned it? Patterson was quiet for a long moment. I've been at this company for 22 years. Things were done a certain way. People who succeeded looked a certain way, talked a certain way. And now those ways are holding us back from the next step in human progress, Zora said. The aliens don't care what color our skin is or what planet we came from. They care if we can think beyond our own small views. Why keep me around? You could bring in anyone you want. Because transformation is more powerful than replacement, Zora said. If I bring in all new people who already think like me, what message does that send? But if people see that those who once refused to see my value now work alongside me toward a common goal, that's real change. Patterson nodded slowly. What do you need from me? First, I need the real story about the company, not what's in the annual reports or the press releases. I need to know who really makes things happen here, who resists change, and who embraces it. I can do that. Second, I need you to lead our new training program. Every employee needs to understand the basics of alien psychology, communication styles, and cultural norms before the exchange begins. Patterson looked surprised. You want me to lead that? Yes, because you'll need to learn it most thoroughly in order to teach it. And because when others see you embracing this new direction, they'll follow your example. And the third thing, I need you to stop calling me Commander. My title now is Director Washington, or Zora, when we're not in formal meetings. For the first time, Patterson smiled slightly. I can do that. Zora. As Patterson left her office, Fuller and Nichols were waiting outside. Zora waved them in. I'm guessing you two have similar concerns as Mr. Patterson, she said. Fuller spoke first. We were completely unprofessional in that interview. We let our biases affect how we treated you. Yes, you did, Zora agreed. And now we have a chance to do better. Not just for me, but for the future of human-alien relations. Nichols stepped forward. I've been doing research since the meeting with Caldwell. The Arcturians have technology that could solve our energy crisis, medical advances that could cure diseases we still struggle with. And they chose you as the person they trust to share it with. They chose what I represent, Zora corrected. The potential for humans to be better than our past. Now we need to prove they were right. As Fuller and Nichols left, Zora turned to look out the window at the clear blue sky. Somewhere up there, the Arcturian delegation was preparing for their first official technology exchange with Earth. They were coming because they believed humans could grow beyond their primitive divisions and join the larger galactic community. Zora, Washington would make sure they were not disappointed. 6 weeks passed quickly. Zora worked long hours getting ready for the Arcturian delegation's arrival. Every day brought new challenges as she built her team and prepared the company for its new role. Today she sat in a large meeting room with 20 department heads. Patterson stood at the front, showing slides about the Arcturian culture and customs. Arcturians don't see or understand human facial expressions, Patterson explained. They communicate through body position and movement patterns. What might seem like a small shift to us could mean something very important to them. Diane Fuller raised her hand. How do we know all this? We've only had limited contact with them so far. Director Washington provided most of this information, Patterson said, nodding toward Zora. Her time with the Galactic Tribunal gave her unique insights. Zora noticed how naturally Patterson now included her in the discussion. 6 weeks ago he had talked over her and dismissed her experience. Now he looked to her as the expert she was. The most important thing to remember, Zora added, is that Arcturians value honesty above all else. They have no concept of lying or hiding information. If they ask a question, they expect a complete and truthful answer. Greg Nichols frowned. That could be a problem for a company with trade secrets and classified defense contracts. Which is why we need to be clear about what we can and cannot share, Zora replied. They will respect boundaries if we explain them directly. What they won't tolerate is half-truths or misdirection. After the meeting, Zora returned to her office to find Ben Caldwell waiting for her. How are the preparations going? He asked. Better than expected, Zora said. Patterson has surprised me. He's become one of our strongest advocates for change. Caldwell smiled. People can surprise you when given the chance. That's what you saw in him that I missed. It's not about seeing potential in individuals, Zora said. It's about understanding that systems shape people's behavior. Change the system, and people often rise to meet new expectations. Speaking of change, Caldwell said, handing her a tablet. The board has approved your proposal to rename your position. Zora looked at the screen. The document showed her new title, President of Interstellar Relations. The Arcturians will appreciate the alignment with how they already see you, Caldwell said. And how does the actual President of the United States feel about this? Zora asked. After speaking with the Secretary General, he agrees this is the best approach. The Arcturians consider you their primary human contact. Fighting that would only confuse them and risk the relationship. I never asked for this role, Zora said, quietly. The best leaders rarely do, Caldwell replied. That's what makes them right for the job. The next morning, Zora called her core team to her office. Patterson, Fuller, Nichols, and 2 new members, Dr. Liam Jenkins, a xenobiologist, and Carly Martinez, a language expert. The Arcturian ship will arrive in 3 days, Zora announced. We need to finalize our welcome ceremony and the tour of our facilities. I've been working with the security team, Nichols said. The Arcturians will have full access to the research wings, but the weapons development areas will be closed, as we discussed. Good, Zora nodded. Dr. Jenkins, how are the environmental adjustments coming along? We've modified the air mixture in the East Wing to match Arcturian preferences, Jenkins replied. And the lighting has been adjusted to the wavelengths they find most comfortable. Martinez, how is the translation system working? We've loaded all known Arcturian language patterns into the system, Martinez said. But I'm concerned about technical terms that might not translate well. Fair point, Zora agreed. Patterson, work with Martinez to create a visual guide for technical terms that might cause confusion. As the team continued their planning, Zora felt a growing sense of pride. 6 weeks ago, these people had been strangers, some even hostile, to her. Now they worked together smoothly, each bringing their unique skills to the mission. Later that afternoon, Zora was called to an emergency video meeting with the Secretary General of the United Earth Government. Director Washington, or should I say President Washington now, Secretary General Kim said when the secure connection was established. Director is fine, Madam Secretary General, Zora replied. What can I do for you? We've received a message from the Arcturian ship. They're requesting to move up their arrival to tomorrow morning. Zora tried to hide her surprise. That's much earlier than planned. Did they give a reason? They said only that the stars have aligned favorably. Our xenocultural experts think it might be related to their belief systems. It could also be a test, Zora suggested, to see how we handle unexpected changes. That was my thought as well, Kim agreed. Can your team be ready? We'll make it work, Zora promised. As soon as the call ended, Zora sent an emergency message to her core team. Within 15 minutes, they had gathered in her office. The Arcturians will arrive tomorrow morning, she announced. We have less than 18 hours to be ready. Instead of panic, Zora saw determination in their faces. We'll need to work through the night, Patterson said. I'll call in all department heads. The environmental systems aren't fully calibrated, Jenkins warned. Focus on the meeting rooms and common areas, Zora directed. We can restrict access to other areas until they're ready. What about the welcome ceremony? Fuller asked. We had planned for the full government delegation to be present. We adapt, Zora said simply. The Secretary General can't get here in time, but we can set up a video link. The important thing is that we meet this challenge with flexibility and grace. As her team hurried off to their tasks, Zora took a moment to look out her window at the night sky. Somewhere up there, the Arcturian ship was approaching, carrying beings from a civilization thousands of years more advanced than Earth. They were coming because they believed humans had potential. Tomorrow would be the first real test of that belief. Zora thought about how far she had come, from being dismissed in a job interview to leading humanity's first official contact with an alien civilization. The journey had been unexpected, but she was ready. She turned back to her desk and began reviewing the Arcturian greeting protocols one more time. There was no room for error now. The future of human-alien relations would be shaped by what happened tomorrow. Dawn broke with a clear sky. Zora stood on the landing pad of Stellar Dynamics with her team beside her. They had worked through the night to prepare for the Arcturians' early arrival. Everyone looked tired, but ready. The ship will be visible in about 2 minutes, Jenkins said, checking his tablet. Zora nodded. Remember, when they exit their ship, no sudden movements. Keep your posture open and your hands visible. Patterson handed out the final communication devices to everyone. These have the latest translation software. Everything the Arcturians say will be translated to text on your screens. And what we say? Fuller asked. Will be converted to their language patterns and transmitted directly to their communication devices, Patterson explained. A bright light appeared in the sky, growing larger quickly. The Arcturian ship was unlike anything humans had built. It looked like flowing liquid metal, changing shape slightly as it moved. It's beautiful, Martinez whispered. The ship slowed as it approached and hovered silently above the landing pad. There was no obvious engine noise or exhaust. After a moment, it settled gently on the ground, the metal surface rippling like water before becoming still. A section of the ship's side melted away, forming an opening. 5 tall figures emerged. The Arcturians were nearly 7 feet tall with thin bodies covered in what looked like shining crystal scales. They had 4 arms and moved with a flowing grace that made them seem almost like they were dancing. Zora stepped forward, making the formal greeting gesture they had practiced. Arms wide, then crossed at the chest, then extended forward with palms up. The tallest Arcturian moved toward her and made a similar motion, though with 4 arms it created a more complex pattern. President Washington, the Arcturian's words appeared on Zora's communication device. We bring greetings from the Arcturian Council and the Galactic Tribunal. On behalf of Earth and humanity, we welcome you, Zora replied, her words being translated for the aliens. We are honored by your presence and the opportunity to learn from your civilization. The Arcturian leader tilted its head, the crystal scales catching the morning light and breaking it into rainbows. The stars aligned to bring us here sooner. We hope this change did not cause difficulty. Not at all, Zora said smoothly. We are pleased to begin our work together earlier than expected. She introduced her team one by one. Each person made the greeting gesture as their name was spoken. The Arcturians responded with slight movements of their upper arms, a sign of acknowledgement according to their research. We have prepared areas within our facility that match your environmental preferences, Zora continued. Please follow me. As they walked toward the building, the Arcturian leader moved to walk beside Zora. When we last met, you stood before the tribunal as Commander Washington, the alien said. Now you are President Washington. This is good. Your people have recognized your value. The title is mostly to help with our work together, Zora explained. My actual role is to lead this company's efforts in sharing technology with your people and learning from you in return. The Arcturian made a flowing motion with its lower arms. Titles matter less than actions. During the Proxima conflict, your actions saved many lives, human and Arcturian. The Council remembers this. Zora was surprised. I didn't know Arcturians were affected by that conflict. We had observers at the edge of your solar system. When the danger grew, you found a solution that considered all lives valuable, not just human ones. This is why the Council chose you for the tribunal. They entered the main building, where Caldwell was waiting with a group of government officials who had arrived during the night. The Secretary General's face appeared on a large screen at the front of the room. Welcome to Earth, the Secretary General said through the translation system. This historic day marks the beginning of a new chapter in human history. The formal welcome ceremony continued with speeches from both sides. Throughout it all, Zora noticed that the Arcturians kept focusing on her, not the government officials or even Caldwell. To them, she was the true representative of humanity. After the ceremony, Zora led the Arcturians on a tour of the research facilities. They moved through the labs showing particular interest in Earth's energy production methods. Your reliance on fossil fuels is damaging your planet, the Arcturian leader observed. Yet you have the knowledge to create cleaner energy. Changing established systems takes time, Zora replied. Some resist change because they profit from the old ways. The Arcturian made a gesture that translated as understanding. All developing species face this challenge. Those who overcome it survive. Those who don't, perish. In the afternoon, they gathered in the conference room for the first official technology exchange discussion. The Arcturians had brought small devices that they placed on the table. These contain the basic principles of our energy conversion system, the leader explained. Not the complete technology, but enough for your scientists to begin developing a version suitable for Earth. Patterson looked at the devices with wonder. You're truly willing to share this with us? Knowledge grows when shared, the Arcturian replied. But we must be certain it will be used wisely. The leader turned to Zora. That is why we insisted on working with President Washington. At the tribunal, she demonstrated wisdom beyond many of her peers. We trust her to guide this knowledge toward helping your world, not harming it. Zora felt the weight of that responsibility. We will form a diverse team of scientists and ethicists to study this technology. Any developments will be shared openly with all nations, not kept for profit or military advantage. Caldwell nodded in agreement. Stellar Dynamics will create a new division focused solely on adapting this technology for peaceful uses. No weapons. Applications will be pursued. The Arcturian leader made a gesture of approval. This is why we chose Earth over other developing worlds. Despite your divisions and conflicts, there exists a capacity for growth and unity. As the meeting continued into the evening, Zora watched her team working side by side with the aliens. Fuller was deep in conversation about energy transfer rates. Nichols and Jenkins were examining the alien devices with careful respect. Patterson was taking detailed notes about everything. These were the same people who had once dismissed her capabilities based on shallow judgment. Now they worked alongside her as equals, helping to bridge the gap between human and alien knowledge. Journey path ahead would not be easy. There would be resistance from those who feared change or wanted to use the new technology for power. But looking at the humans and aliens working together, Zora felt hopeful. This was just the beginning. 1 year passed since the Arcturians first arrived. The world had changed in ways few could have imagined. Zora stood at the window of her office, looking out at the new buildings that had sprung up around Stellar Dynamics. The Global Technology Exchange Center occupied the largest space, a place where scientists from all nations came to work together with alien knowledge. There was a knock at her door. Patterson entered carrying a tablet. "The latest report from the energy team," he said, handing it to her. "The first city-scale converter will go online next month. Beijing volunteered to be the test site." Zora nodded. "And the environmental impact studies?" "All positive. No radiation, no harmful emissions, just clean energy, exactly as the Arcturians promised." "What about costs? Will regular people be able to afford this?" Patterson smiled. "That's the best part. Once the initial infrastructure is built, the cost is nearly zero. The Chinese government has already announced that electricity will be free for all citizens by next year." Zora felt a deep satisfaction. This was what she had insisted on from the beginning, that the benefits of alien technology must reach everyone, not just the wealthy or powerful. "The other news is less positive," Patterson continued, his expression growing serious. "Some military leaders are pushing hard for access to Arcturian technology for weapons development." "That's not surprising," Zora sighed. "Old habits are hard to break. The good news is that most world governments are backing our position. The Arcturian Agreement is holding." The Arcturian Agreement had been Zora's crowning achievement, a global treaty that all nations would use alien technology only for peaceful purposes. Any country that broke this agreement would be cut off from all further technology exchanges. "What about our visitors from Centauri Prime?" Zora asked. "Have they arrived yet?" "Their ship entered orbit an hour ago. They're scheduled to land this afternoon." This would be Earth's second official contact with another alien species. The Centaurians had reached out after hearing from the Arcturians about humanity's progress. "Let's make sure everything is ready," Zora said. "Dr. Jenkins has been studying their biological needs. Check with him about any last-minute adjustments." As Patterson left, Fuller came in with Martinez. "We've finished the welcome message in the Centaurian language," Martinez said. "It was tricky because they use color patterns as well as sounds to communicate, but I think we've got it." "Excellent work," Zora said. "And the cultural briefing for our team?" "Everyone has completed it," Fuller replied. "The most important thing to remember is that Centaurians value personal space much more than Arcturians. We need to stay at least 3 meters away from them at all times." Zora nodded. A year ago, these meetings would have seemed like science fiction. Now they were just another day at work. Her team had grown from the original 5 to over 100 specialists, all working to help humanity take its place among the stars. Later that day, Zora stood again on the landing pad. This time, with a much larger group behind her, government officials from around the world had come to witness the arrival of Earth's newest visitors. Even the Secretary General was there in person. The Centaurian ship was very different from the Arcturian vessel. Where the Arcturians used flowing metal, the Centaurians had a ship that looked like it was made of light itself, shifting colors running across its surface. As the ship landed, Zora felt someone step up beside her. "1 year ago, I played a trick to get you in the door for an interview," Caldwell said quietly. "I never imagined it would lead to this." "Life rarely goes as planned," Zora replied. "Sometimes that's for the best." The Centaurian ship opened, revealing beings that looked like tall, slender humans but with skin that changed colors like their ship. They moved with careful, measured steps as they approached. Zora spoke the greeting that Martinez had prepared. The translation device projected both sound and colored light patterns. The lead Centaurian responded with a rainbow of colors flowing across their skin and musical tones from a device at their throat. "President Washington," the translation came through. "The Galactic Council sends greetings. The Arcturians have spoken highly of your species and your leadership. We welcome you to Earth," Zora replied. We are honored to learn from your wisdom and share our own journey with you. As the formal greetings continued, Zora noticed Patterson, Fuller, and Nichols standing together. They looked different than they had a year ago. The stress and worry, lines on their faces had been replaced by expressions of wonder and purpose. They had found meaning in being part of something greater than themselves or their company. That evening, after the Centaurians had been shown to their quarters, Zora met with her core team. 3 more species have contacted the Secretary General, she told them. They all want to establish relations with Earth. This is happening faster than anyone expected, Nichols said. Are we ready for this? Yes and no, Zora replied honestly. We've made amazing progress with the Arcturian technology. Our climate is starting to heal. Wars have decreased as energy becomes free and abundant. But we still have problems: poverty, disease, old prejudices that refuse to die. But we're working on them, Fuller pointed out. That's what the aliens seem to value most. Not that we're perfect, but that we're trying to be better. The real question, Patterson said, is who will lead these new contacts? Zora, you can't personally handle relations with every alien species. That's our next step, Zora agreed. We need to train more people who can serve as bridges between humanity and other civilizations. She looked around at her team. And I think we should start with the people in this room. Us? Martinez looked surprised. But we're just researchers and support staff. And I was just a space captain looking for a job, Zora reminded her. What matters isn't your title or background. What matters is your ability to see beyond yourself, to value different perspectives, and to work for something greater than personal gain. Zora stood and walked to the window. The lights of the city spread out below, and above them the stars shone brightly. Somewhere up there were countless civilizations watching Earth's progress, waiting to see if humans would rise above their history of conflict and division. 1 year ago, I was humiliated in a job interview because some people couldn't see past their own narrow views, Zora said. Today, those same people work beside me as we welcome visitors from another star system. That's the power of transformation. She turned back to face her team. And that's the story we're going to share with the galaxy. That humans, for all, our flaws can learn and grow and become better than our past. Outside, the Centaurian ship glowed softly in the night, a beacon of new possibilities. Inside, Zora Washington and her team planned humanity's next steps toward a future among the stars, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals in the grand community of intelligent life.